And as I have said with clarity, the corrupt, the thieves, the people who steal from the people of Kenya, the people who steal the future of our children, they must leave Kenya. Or they will go to jail. Or they have the option of going to heaven. Wajipange namna hiyo. And it is not a threat. Nasikia watu wengine wanasema oh nimethreaten mtu I have not threatened anybody. It is the truth and it is an option. And I'm not threatening anybody. It is what we will do. So it's not a threat. Msifikiri ati oh nikutisha watu. Hakuna kutisha.
Is doing and why Uhuru Kenyatta was not able to succeed.
Yes.
Especially not just Uhuru Kenyatta, even President Kibaki, President Moi, they have all tried to revive the local sugar sector.
Yes.
To nothing, it hasn't amounted to anything much. And I'll explain why. The story of Western Kenya and sugar, rather sugarcane, is the story written by a famous writer called, and a former journalist called Tom Burgess or something like that.
Yes.
He has written a book called The Looting Machine.
Yes.
Now, if you read that book called The Looting Machine, it is an exemplification of someone like Rai'S, the sugar baron.
Yes.
And this is where a baron or a cabal goes into bed with a state. The state looks like they want to solve issues, but in essence they are just handing over business to the sugar cartels. And I'll explain for you to be able to understand what exactly is happening. Now, some time back, you remember, the price of sugar was astronomically very high. Now, what the government had done, they had allowed, you know, we have an arrangement with COMESA in terms of us importing sugar.
Yes.
And therefore, what had happened is that the sugar was not available. There was a shortage of sugar, including globally, and therefore we could not be able, and I'm just giving a specific example, we were not able to import sugar from the COMESA region. So what the government did, they went ahead to issue a duty waiver on imported sugar from regions outside the COMESA region. They allocated around 120,000 metric tons to ease the sugar shortage. That sounds like a tongue twister.
Yeah, actually,
I think I need some sugar. But this is what happened shockingly.
Yes.
Of the 120,000 metric tons that were supposed to be imported, Rai'S and his group took 80,000 metric tons. So the rest of the market was left to import 40,000 metric tons of the 120,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when the 40,000 imported, you know, when you import, you have a bill of lading. So what Rai'S and his group did, they went ahead and purchased the sugar while it was in high seas of these guys who had brought. So in essence, one person got to control the entire sugar value chain of the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is that we got a very huge sugar shortage, which in essence led to a spike in the sugar prices in the market. And the government had to intervene again and reissue more duty waiver allocations so that more sugar could come into the country, because one person had hoarded the sugar for the whole country. Now that is the level of cabals we are talking about. Now I have asked you to do a very simple math here of 25,000 metric tons, which is half a ship. If you make 3,000 per 50 kg bags, one person, one importer, is making 1.5 billion Kenya shillings. Now that is money that would have gone into the pocket of farmers in Western Kenya. So what happens is that, you remember there was an outcry the other day because government had not issued licenses for local millers to import sugar. You remember there was an outcry.
Yes.
But because the government realized they are issuing licenses, but it is a cabal that is benefiting and not necessarily the farmers of Western Kenya. And therefore, there is bound to be a lot of wailing and a lot of crying from the cartels who for a long time have beholden the sugar industry. Look at it this way. In Mount Kenya, we always complain about the prices of coffee. And to a large extent, the reforms have been benefiting the farmer. To a large extent, we are not there yet, but to a large extent, yes. But when you look at what happens in Western Kenya, it has been a story after story of promises of we are settling debts. The question you need to ask yourself is this: when the government settles debt, who pockets that money? Because we can't be repaying debt every year. Tumetenga 1.5 billion ya kumaliza loan ya wakulima. Another year tumetenga 10 billion ya kulipa pesa ya wakulima. Who actually gets this money? Because when you go to Western Kenya and you look at the typical farmer, he does not look like he has benefited from 10 billion in terms of his debts being paid.
Yes.